a twist.
What's up, humans? This is Katie Rose, straight up with a twist. Welcome to the show. I am going to be jumping in to some serious topics. I can't hold back anymore. I can't hold back my voice, and that was kind of what my goal was with this podcast, was to go there and try to keep my Facebook more of a, friendly atmosphere, place to discuss what's on television or, what personal achievements I've been going through and keep it lighthearted so that I can have this as an option for anybody who feels like delving into conversations like this rather than pushing them into people's faces. So this conversation comes from my career, from what I've been focused on for the past 3 years, since the pandemic, honestly, and just putting in the work. And I have been hustling. I have been doing well. And it's so funny because you post one thing and that really sticks to people's brains. It hangs on for months. And I'm like, oh no, I booked that a long time ago. And people think you're doing that every week. And I'm like, no. I'm doing 50, 60 auditions until I actually book something. The cool thing is part of auditioning is actually training. You get better and better and better at it. I used to take forever to set up my studio before doing an audition. And now I'm like, boom, boom, boom. I know exactly what I need to do for this and this lighting. I know exactly what setting to put it on. And I can get several auditions done within a day. And so it's great. It's great. I'm memorizing things easier, quicker, understanding where my sight lines are and things like that. So I'm putting in the work, but it can be discouraging because I've gotten what's called a first right of refusal many times. And I'm like, who's refusing? Like, who's the first? Who is this person? And it's between me and another person. And then I'm not booking it. I'm not big on posting, hey, look at me. I did submissions today. I just put in the work, and even after I've done something, I'm hesitant to be like, I just did this commercial. I want to wait till the product comes out. What if it comes out and I don't like it? And then I'm like, oh, yep, I already told everybody I was in that. Sometimes it might not come out the way that you wanted it to. So I'm always like, let me put in the work. Let me do what I need to do. Then if I like it, I might be like, cool, I did this thing. Let me post about it. In the nature of trying to advertise myself and be better about that. It is so against everything I've learned as a child to be humble, and to support other people and along the lines of support, if I'm being real, sometimes I feel like I don't get that support. Sometimes, just in my circle of people, I feel like I'm constantly supporting other people. And I feel like when I post something, it's like I'll have 350 views on it and like 10 likes and 2 comments. And then I'm like, so what is this exactly? Is this jealousy? Is this, because I can't believe the excuse of, oh, I'm just not a commenter. Oh, I just like to scroll. When I see you do it to other people's pages for even less significant things, and everybody's trying to make themselves look amazing. They could not be doing something that great, but the way that they post it and everyone's like, wow, oh my God, and then like I finally do something amazing and then it's like, hardly anybody says anything. That's been hurting my heart a lot lately. And I'm really trying not to take it personally because people say not to. And we all get how social media works. And I'm just letting it affect me because I don't get to see people as often. So in a way, I kind of depend on this interaction because I don't go to work and see my friends every day, if that makes any sense. We get the beast that is social media and our doubts. But today, I want to get into the nitty-gritty of a post that I saw that really, it cranked me up. And I thought, I have to talk about this. And but I want to give both perspectives before jumping to any conclusions. And then I want to explain how I feel we can move forward in this industry. Okay, so without this turning into a masterclass on how to be an actor and blah, 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 just some basics. There are websites. Now, back in the day, we used to hire somebody to build a website for us, or you could use WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, and there's a bunch of different options. Some of them are free, and then you get basic things, or you can pay to add more to your webpage. But now we have kind of monopolized the industry, and we have one website in particular that's more film and one website that is more commercial. And then we have another website that's more anybody in the world can kind of jump in. It's like a newspaper, and people can, it's like Craigslist. They can post up their stuff and it could be, a myriad of things. It could be voiceover, it could be a student film, anything local, stuff like that. Now, each one of these websites cost a lot of money. Okay, so we're talking hundreds of dollars per website. And you would think, great, I'm paying the money, so I should have access to this. And not only do I have access to this, my agents have access to this. Now, back in the day, sometimes your agents would actually pay for your website for you if you were signed with them. That was kind of like an additional. Now, today, we are paying for our own websites. We are recording from home. We have to have our ring lights and our studio lights and our backdrops, and we're paying for all of these things out of our pocket as actors. Not to mention we are doing, and this is going to be a debatable conversation, not to offend any agents, but we are doing most of the work because we're seeing on these websites the exact same postings. We can visually see them that our agents see them. The difference is they submit us instead of us submitting ourselves. That way, we have that representation and we look more legit. So it's going to be, and I have noticed, more likely that a casting director is going to want to see you if you have an agent that submitted you over you submitting yourself. And I get it because the idea here is that they have vouched for you, that you have been vetted, that you were recommended, that they've seen your work before. And so they are like, yes. However, I'm not sure that every casting agent out there, in my opinion, has the criteria, has the background to have kind of vet you out anyways. Like, it's great. And yes, maybe they just have a good eye and that's why they were hired. But oftentimes you will find that a lot of actors are veteran actors and their resume is even more impressive, meaning what I'm saying is that we could audition for ourselves and vouch for ourselves based off our resume, that we wouldn't necessarily need an agent, unfortunately, because I feel like we are capable of doing it ourselves as well. That way, the agent will get 20% commission. And if you live in Florida, they get like an additional agency fee, 20%. And that's been kind of an argument because instead of them taking from the gross amount, they're supposed to be taking from the gross amount, but they're taking an additional 20% before that, which is like, depending on how much you get paid, it could be a lot or it could be a little bit, but sometimes that difference matters. They're even taking cuts from you driving yourself out to do a fitting, which I don't agree with that. If I'm driving myself, paying for gas, driving the mileage, and doing the fitting myself, why is my agent getting a cut of that? But they look at the entire thing as the whole booking. This can be argued, and sometimes people have different relationships with their agent, and some agents won't, they'll let it skirt by or they won't charge you for that. And maybe that's, over time. It's like, hey, I'm making you good money. Let's negotiate this, which is perfectly fair to do. But some changes have been happening over the years. Most of the time you're providing your own clothing for a lot of these bookings. So there's a lot that goes into it, which is why a lot of actors have a lot of write-offs at the end of the year. Because it's like, well, I didn't want to purchase this, but the studio had me do it. So that's just a couple of basics. Well, now, while I can air quote afford these 3 websites costing me hundreds of dollars a year, which air quotes, afford, struggling actor here, hello, they are, first of all, they're charging you lots of digital space. So not only are you paying the annual fee, they're charging you per headshot, per minute, per few seconds of something that you post on there as additional fees. And I'm talking $25 per minute, that type of a thing. And then when you've already paid for the headshot, if you're like, oh, I just got updated headshots, let me switch that out. they're going to charge you again. So it's not just like you're paying for digital real estate once. You're paying for it over and over and over again because we are required as actors to make sure that we always look like ourselves, that we are constantly updating our material. So let's say you put together this perfect reel, okay? You spent your $25, $22 to post it on the internet and you're like, oh God, that was a lot of money, but it's an investment. Yeah, let's do it. So you post that 1 minute or 2 minutes. So then you spent, $44 to get that up there. And then all of a sudden you book a gig and you're like, that's great. I got to add that to my reel. Ha! Well, guess what? You can't just replace that. You got to spend another $22 to add the 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds of your new commercial to that reel. So it's becoming extremely costly. And then not only that, the people that were having the free websites with also having an agent, they are now basically forcing people to pay for these websites now because there was a free form. There are free forms, kind of like the difference in an equity call or an open call. And you can still submit that way. But now they're also changing it's so funny. We've moved into the future where you can have, 1040K and, 1080p and, nice quality video. And now they're requesting that the quality is less because they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Just make the quality less because we're just looking at it on a tiny screen and it's unnecessary and it's taking up digital space, right? So this is becoming an issue. But why are we paying for it? Over and over and over again. If these companies are like, we need you to do this. I mean, we are becoming literal digital experts here. I'm having to learn how to convert. You're using QuickTime or GarageBand or whatever. I'm trying to find one that just works like as an app on my phone, but like switching from an MP4 to an MP3. Sometimes there's only certain places that can do it. And then of course, everybody wants to be like, well, you sign up for this app. It's only $9.99 a month. And then I got 8,000 apps, 8,000 external things that are charging me. And it is so costly. So I'm really hoping that we can move into a world where, and I'm not saying that I already feel monopolized by, these 3 websites already, especially the one that is like the film one that is like, you got to have it, and everybody uses it as like your website. Like, do you have this website? You need to go, I need to see this so I could see, how much money you've put into this website, basically, which I would rather just pay my friend to do it. My friend does websites and I think my website would look better, but I'm forced to use this one. So then I'm like, why would I pay for a whole nother one? That's like my Katie Rose website. What's the point when I have to use these and I have to pay for these? Why would I pay for yet another personal website? It doesn't make sense if the ones that they are wanting to use are monopolized. But I wish that we could take all of these fantastic and somewhat useful tools. I mean, it's great in the digital age that I don't have to drive somewhere for every audition and I can stay home and I can record. But we need to find a better way to make this work because we are really stressing out everybody. I think casting directors, we're stressing out agents because then they're trying to conform to the new ways, and actors. Not only do we have to memorize scripts and get dressed, look all cute, change our hair, make our outfits look right for whatever the role it is, dance, get lighting, get, all this stuff. Now we have to worry about the stuff that originally we weren't supposed to have to worry about. Because you'd show up and they would film you. You don't have to worry about it. What HD level it was, they did that. You didn't have to worry about that before. So we're doing a lot of extra work. So I had a conversation with a fellow actor and some people are wondering, do we need agents anymore? Why are they getting such a high percentage of what we're doing when we're doing most of the work these days? And I'm not sure what the answer to that is because we've, created this stigma that we need them advocating for us, that we need them to negotiate for us. But we kind of live in this world where we understand how that works now, and people are creating their own businesses, especially on social media. They have people that are videotaping them all day. They are promoting themselves online. Are we getting out of the age of needing an agent when we can just submit ourselves from home and we can communicate with these casting directors if need be? Or do we want that separation for legal reasons? Do we want that separation to save ourselves in situations, where something could go wrong and, we need a little bit of a buffer of protection between that? Is it the relationships? Do we as actors have the time to create these other relationships with people. But do we really know, how are we being advocated for? Maybe we as actors would rather advocate for ourselves because we, in fact, know ourselves better than the agents often do. Especially nowadays, a lot of times you never meet your agent. You could be out of state, out of town. It's far. They're busy. Sometimes you don't meet them. Or maybe if you do once, and then you really just only have a phone conversation with them. So are they advocating for us the way that we know our training is? Do they really know our background the way that, they may have booked us from our resume and a couple of videos, but do they really know what we're capable of doing? Where are we going in the future here? And are agents learning from the past? Are they learning from the casting couch era? Are they learning how to communicate with people today? And that being mean doesn't always mean that that's going to work in this industry anymore, because people do have cell phones and they can videotape you, or they can, cancel you, I have noticed a big shift in a lot of casting directors' attitudes when an actor enters the room. They're not bullying you anymore. They don't have this power trip anymore. And that was kind of an attitude. And I recently had a conversation with an agent, and I did not feel good after that conversation. Quite frankly, I thought, well, if you don't believe in me, then I'm not sure I want you to be my agent. This is supposed to be a relationship. We are supposed to support each other. And if you don't believe in me and you're going to comment on the fact that I'm white, or that I have a theater background, or you've only seen me do something funny, meaning, and you didn't take the time to look at my reel then, because it's not all funny. So, or read my resume, in that case. I want someone, if I'm going to give you 20% of most of the work that I'm doing, then drop the act, drop the attitude. Like, this is not going to be a good working relationship. So I want to make sure that there is respect on both ends. What I do not want is someone who's been in this, I've been smoking, it's Estelle from, Friends with Joey Tribbiani. I've been in this business, and look how terrible she was, right? Was she a good agent? No. So learn. You have to be able to progress, and you have to be able to learn and not have this I'm better than everyone, know-it-all, attitude, which is what I feel and see sometimes is I can change your life. I want to come into a room and an agent gets excited when they've seen what I can do. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can see you in this, this, and this. This is great. Tell me more about yourself. Not, oh, I'm going to judge you based off one thing and you need me, I don't need you. And if you don't know, over the years, there's been this stigma put on actors as if we are high maintenance and, oh, look how needy or desperate they are, or I am going to judge the way that they wrote their email and decide their entire life based off of my mood for that day, which I'll get more into. So let me get to the nitty gritty of why I'm here today, why I'm having this conversation in the first place. I saw somebody post and they're like, look, I booked this thing and hashtag, let me thank all my agents and da-da-da-da-da. So I was like, let me check out these agencies or these managers. Like, that's a good thing to do. If you like what your friend is booking, check out who they're with. Maybe you could be with that agency if the agent that you're with right now doesn't believe in you. Kind of a thing. And by the way, my agents that I work in the commercial division have been nothing but fantastic to me. So I friggin' love them. They are all personable and fantastic to work with. So I feel very fortunate. In any case, I was like, let me go to this page. Let me see this website. And it's an open website, so you can go to it yourself. Now, I can appreciate Bohemia this from I'm just being real. I mean, look at my podcast, down to earth. I'm just saying it how it is. I totally understand that. But when you are working for a professional company, first of all, make sure the typos aren't there. Like, you're going to post something on your page that's permanent, and there's just typos like everywhere. Like, literally the word here, H-E-A-R, was H-E-R-E. And then there's a lowercase and just, grammar. And then that makes me look at you like, if I can't even read this properly and you didn't even take the time to edit, would you take the time as my agent? So right off the bat, I'm just kind of like, ugh. And if you're going to make fun of actors, then at least spell correctly. So they have this segment of their website that you can go to called Dear Actor. Now, I like to learn. I like reading articles from actors and learning how they got there. I even was listening to a wonderful podcast called Wiser Than Me, with Elaine from Seinfeld, Julia. And I learned a lot from these interviews, that it's okay, that no is a full sentence, Sally Fields not booking roles that she really wanted. And I'm like, God, imagine already being super famous and being disappointed. Like, I guess I can pay my dues a little bit longer, times were different back then. But it's called Dear Actor. So I thought, this is great. Oh, I'm going to learn something. Let me read this. And what I came to find is that every single one of these articles was bashing actors. It was their time to get on a soapbox and bitch about what they're angry about with actors. Now, some of it, holds water. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. People shouldn't do that. But I would like to read one of their posts, and then I'd like to give a response. So here goes. Dear actor, you may be a good actor. Hell, you may be a great actor. But do not come into my office and tell me you have looked at my list and you are a much better actor than anyone I currently represent. It will not endear you to me, and it makes you sound like an ass. And while we are at it, don't tell me that you work harder than any actor I represent. When I hear an actor say they work harder than all the other actors out there, I have to wonder who they're trying to convince, me or themselves. Now, I am not here to say you are not working hard. I hope you're working your ass off. That is your job. But saying you work harder than anyone else makes you sound like a kid and not becoming at all. You don't know what others are doing, and you should not be worried about what others are doing. Focus on you. I have booked like 30 or 40 things in the last 6 months. No, I seriously doubt that. But hey, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Well, not really, but if you are doing great, and I truly hope you are, and you have all these fabulous bookings, then if I go on IMDb Pro and look will it all be up there, right? And look, as she meant look at it, will it all be up there, right? Right? Here's the thing. The number of things you book is not nearly as important as the quality of things you book. Maybe you've done 30 student films in the last 6 months, and good for you. But if you have done all this work, are not in the union, and have no reps, then all I see are big red flags. If you have a rep and you are not communicating with them, then why do you have them? Why waste anyone's time? If you're going to say yes to everything that comes along and not discuss it with your reps, then you really don't need the reps. We are here to work with you and protect you. Let us help you instead of asking us to constantly clean up messes. A good rep is there to go on the whole journey, not just the parts you think they should be on. Stop testing your reps. When I hear folks say they never hear from their managers or agents, the first question I ask is, do you call them? If the answer is no, I wait to see if they're going to call me. Then you are wasting our time. If you email a couple of times and don't hear anything, pick up the phone. If you are still not getting a response, then you are with the wrong rep. But I tell my clients the same thing. I'm always available. Sure, there are always boundaries. Don't call me at 11 p.m. to ask me about what you should wear on a self-tape if it is a weekend and it really is something that can wait until Monday. For sure, let us recharge our batteries. But if a client needs me, I'm available and easy to reach. Stop doing business on text and instant message. If you need something or want to discuss something, send an email. If it is important, pick up the phone. I know, so 2005. But I personally don't like to do business on text or IM. Those are not for full discussions. Things get lost. Tone gets misread. And while I'm at it, you can't read tone. Okay, you can read the tone here. But a lot of times, people will just be sending a message and you are in a bad mood or sad or whatever. And now you've read something that really is not there. And I know you kids are all about the texting or the WhatsApp, but if you can't take a minute or two to pick up a phone, the one you're texting me on, I have to assume it is not that important. Stop making excuses. If you are doing a self-tape and you send it with a page of excuses, then why are you sending it to me? Either do it right so you feel good about it, or just own it. But spending half your time justifying it to me Justifying it is to me the equivalent of you either searching for a compliment or giving yourself an excuse if you don't book it. Things to always remember. You are not going to book everything you go out for. You are not going to go out for everything you are right for. Reaching out to folks for representation. If you have done an email blast out to folks, here are a few things to keep in mind. Make sure if you're doing a mass blast that everyone is BCC'd, blind copied. I see a big list. Your email is getting trashed. I can't speak for everyone else, but I don't answer every email like that. If I am interested, I will reach out. If I am not, I won't. I don't have the time to engage with every actor who wants to be here. There are a few schools of thought about whether or not you should follow up. As far as I'm concerned, if no one reached back out, then you have your answer. If you keep following up, you start to look like a desperate actor. Be clear and concise in your emails. I'm not a fan of a lot of smoke blowing. I'm happy you did your homework, but don't Eddie Haskell me. Yeah, look that up. If the answer is no, like no one got back all those times you sent an email, then don't send a nasty email. That won't endear you to us at all. Don't take it personally. We get hundreds of emails, sometimes more. If we are not the right fit, I am not going to waste yours or my time. Don't lie. If I do think you are interesting and I do look you up and what you say in your letter is nowhere near what is true, I will remember that. I get it. Everyone spins, but be honest. That speaks volumes to me. Your name and a line about will I rep you with no other info gets trashed immediately. If you can't take the time to put any other info there, I'm not going to take the time to look you up. Now go be a rock star. This appears to be their tagline for their company. And then they have a few other articles. So I just wanted to grab a couple more things that were from different ones for their, section. I want more personal interaction, actors say. This drives me crazy when an actor says this. What does this even mean? You want to come in once a week and powwow? You want someone to call you every day to check in with you, or vice versa? We recently had a client who left because they wanted more. Don't get me wrong. They talked to a manager in this company on a weekly, and sometimes more, basis. And there was a lot of interaction between them. But they wanted more interaction with more managers in the office, not less with the one they had. More from others. Okay, so when we asked them, did they ever reach out to the other folks and wanted to interact with? The response was no. They should be reaching out to me. Now, I mean no disrespect. Okay, maybe a little because your head is in your ass. When you have a manager or even an agent, and there is someone who you communicate with on a regular basis and you are not actually working a lot and are just getting started, I'm going to tell you to check yourself. If you are just looking to make sure everyone loves you so you can feel good about yourself, get a dog. Focus on the people who are spending time with you and focus on the work. Don't get needy and desperate. It makes you sound like a 5-year-old. It's a new year, a new opportunity. Don't be desperate. Don't highlight your struggle and keep your head held high and out of your ass. Every little thing you do should be considered a mini success. Now go be a rock star. And then in a tough love one that they posted for like Valentine's Day, they talk about that all of the work and all of the video footage that you have, if it's just student films, that's basically not good enough. If you go to the IMDb and there's nothing there, it's like that's not going to do anything for you. And then they go on to say, do they really understand the ins and outs of the business, at least the business of the current years? There are a lot of great folks out there. Don't settle just because of a good sales pitch. Then they talk about availability, which I agree with. Like, if you're not available, then don't audition, obviously. And check the dates. Don't lie about a passport. I agree with that. Okay, so in trying to remember everything that I just said, I'm going to respond. I just wanted to give you the whole thing without interrupting in between. So, dear agents, we know that you have people in your roster that are less talented because we actually work with them and we know them. Most talent agents rarely meet up with their actors and, like you mentioned, won't even pick up the phone to talk. This power move of a post is rude to actors, as no offense, we are doing 99% of the work. You don't like mass emails? Try being represented by someone and receiving mass email after mass email of roles that do not pertain to you, and then being asked to respond and submit in a timely manner, or if we want to. We want to be submitted for something our agent knows we'd be good for because they actually know us and believe in our talent and have a relationship with us. It sounds like you want the same thing. You want a relationship. Well, it works both ways. Telling an actor that simply asking for representation won't get you to even blink at their application is not helpful, especially when other agents say the opposite and that too much written is a waste of their time, and to be short and sweet. Tell actors what you want to best direct them. Everybody does things differently, so don't judge them. We get enough of that as it is. I'm tired of these agents that act like they have earned what we book. You are a liaison who is there for the business end of things and should be happy that we are making you money. You need us as much as we need you. I'm not so sure we need you nowadays with all of the self-submitting, but that's how it's working. Something's got to change as we are self-taping, putting up our own home studios, driving everywhere, paying for multiple websites, and having someone who isn't really an ally saying to actors that actors don't really pay attention. Do you know how many mistakes I've received from agents? Wrong dates, times, and instructions that make no sense? Sometimes scripts are written incorrectly, and we have to fill in the blanks. And sometimes I get concerned because when I send a WeTransfer and it says that it was never downloaded, I'm wondering if you ever sent my submission to begin with. It's interesting how we will spend all this time reading these instructions that you send out, and then when we follow them, you say you shouldn't have done that, or that was the wrong way. I one time received a email saying, please email the casting director directly, and they gave the email. So that was where we were supposed to send the submissions. So I do that, and then I get yelled at. And a lot of times they will be apologetic, but it's interesting because they are pushy. You need to do this. The actors aren't doing this correctly. Please make our lives easier. And when we're doing all of the right things, you do something wrong and it's backpedal. It's okay if you make a mistake. You're just a human. But if an actor makes a mistake, you might just kick us off your roster. This dominance thing is not conducive and is not a way to have a healthy relationship and a working business relationship. And also, we have to pitch ourselves. If we've done 30 or 40 student films, I think that's pretty great. And it's going to show you what kind of actor I'm capable of. We're coming to you so that you can get us the bigger roles. There's a reason we're not booking the other roles and we're not on IMDb yet. It's because we don't have an agent and we want one because that's your whole purpose. If you're saying that you just need to already be awesome and then come into my office and make me money, that is not the correct attitude to have. And I think doing 30 or 40 student films is better than being an extra or a background in a bunch of things. You give what you have and you take classes and you continue to work. I know people, and I've been on set with people who are straight out of high school, have never taken a class, and they're on set making more money than I am. Why? Because of their look? What happened there? How come when I called you, you said I need to get into classes? I'm nearly 40 years old. I think I've done my dues on classes. Did you even read my resume? So yes, this is where actors are coming from. When, yes, we should be worrying about ourselves. But when we worry about ourselves and we pitch ourselves, you complain that we're over pitching ourselves. And if you're lying, obviously you shouldn't be lying on your resume. But if I'm telling you I have all of this experience and you're just not believing me, that's a different issue. And I don't see how anybody putting in lots of work and working on their craft is looked at as a big red flag. Just because they're not part of the union costs a lot of money to join. And if they don't have certain reps, how do you know they didn't have reps in the past? Did you ask them if they had representation and that maybe it didn't work out for whatever reason? Maybe they're trying to find a good agent and that's why they came to you. And you should take that as a compliment. And half, if not 75% of the projects in the Southeast are non-union. You have to start somewhere, but it sounds like to you that is not your agency. Then we've gone back and forth on communication. Everybody is different on communication. So I don't think that it's all one way. The way that I've learned in my sales background is you communicate the way that somebody communicates with you. So if your agent communicates with you via email, then you respond back via email. If they start texting you, then you can respond back via text. If they call you, then you can call back. So you are learning what it is that they like, what it is that they prefer, and in what instances. Nobody wants to be annoying. Nobody's trying to be annoying, but we do want to establish a relationship and an understanding. We don't want an agent where we feel like we have to walk on eggshells and that you can blow at any moment if we say something not to your liking. I, in fact, had an agent accidentally the other day curse via voice text, being upset that I didn't book something and was like, their loss and F them. And it accidentally came through onto my phone. And I laughed so hard. And I thought, great, I'm happy. And that made me know that my agent was on my side, that she believed in me, and that she was a normal person and she was down to earth and she says stuff sometimes. And now I felt more confident in reaching out and that I wasn't walking on eggshells. No actor wants to feel like they're walking on eggshells because you have all these demands on how exactly a person should talk to you. We are not robots. Everybody's got different personalities and everybody communicates differently. This whole actors, attitude and, they're needy and you need to tell them they look amazing all the time. That's just not true. And that's some stigma that you guys have attached to actors. And I don't like it. And things need to change. And I'm really hoping that we can move away from this ideology of the industry. And we need to start really standing up for ourselves as actors, And like I said, I'm not so sure, why is it that we need these agents to advocate? Why are, you're wondering why people are coming to you is because apparently we have to have an agent to get booked. That's the way it works, So we're coming to you for your help, and then you're stomping on people's souls that they've been doing student films. You don't think that they're auditioning for other things. They're doing the best they can, but as you know, it's a cycle. Without an agent, look, I spent 3 years of the pandemic submitting. Why am I not getting picked? Why am I not getting picked? As soon as I got an agent, all of a sudden I was getting picked. So there's obviously something to that. This is the stigma. This is what we've decided. So I just don't think it's nice to bash an actor who is potentially paying your bills. I mean, we've all seen Entourage. If you lose a big client, like, you are screwed. So you need to have respect both ways, especially with the work that they've put in. Look at the stuff that they've done, and see their personality. Be more of a coach. Be more of, if you're sitting here writing these posts, then you obviously think you're a teacher. You obviously think that you have something to share, that you are knowledgeable, that then teach. Don't be mean. Don't bash somebody's hopes and dreams. There could be something in somebody that you're just missing, that could probably make you lots of money if you're really caring about that. And it's not to say that some of the things that were said are not true. It is in the way that you said it and your frustration. You don't think actors are frustrated? You don't think that we go through stuff that I just explained as well? There seems to me to be a lack of communication. That's usually what makes people upset, and they start filling in the blanks and adding assumptions, rather than actually getting to know the person or just asking, you know what I'm saying? You think that we're wasting your time, and we think that you're wasting ours sometimes. Yeah, we get it. Give us the thing. Make sure that everything is written properly so I know what's going on, so I can be quick with you and give you the correct responses that you need, I think the email thing is a little bit silly. I think across the board, we just need to say, be short, concise, tell me something about yourself. This digging, you're scaring actors. We're fearful of everything we write. Oh my God, did I talk too much about myself? You know what I mean? Everyone's different at the end of the day. So either make it across the board, here's a template, follow it, or just give people a break, there are so many different unique types of people out there, and you might throw that away just by the way that they worded something in an email. They might be brilliant actors, some of the best actors are a little bit crazy or have conditions or whatever. Some of the most brilliant people are a little awkward or a little off, especially in the acting world, All in all, the moral of this story is to have mutual respect, okay? I'm nitpicking on each little thing that was said, and this was probably written a little while ago. Maybe one was more recent. I just don't see the need for the hostility, and I think people need to be a little bit more patient and understanding and just let stuff go. Have some grace. See a different perspective. If you are going to decide that you're the kind of agent that needs to have this perfectly structured email that I'm just supposed to mind guess on how you really want it structured, you're going to miss out on some amazing talent and some amazing people and some people that you'd probably really enjoy working with. Because this guessing game and everybody having these different ideas. I mean, I just submitted the other day and they were literally only send 4 things. And it was I don't want any messages. I don't want any of this, and then in another message, it's advocate for yourself. Tell me what's interesting about you. Write me a novel. And it's we can't guess. Everybody is different. So let it go. Let it go. If you're different, then write in your thing, this is what I want. And then we'll know better, for the next time. But I don't see what the complaining about that is. We can't mind read. We don't know what it is that you want. And trust me, we can memorize things because we're actors. So tell us what it is that you want and we'll do exactly that. As a whole, it makes you sound self-righteous. It's what if tomorrow, something happened and everybody was saying, wow, what a crappy agent you are. Because agents also like to be I'm going to blacklist somebody. Oh, I'm going to tell everybody about that. Don't hire this person. That is so mean. Just because you have a bad experience with somebody because they didn't follow exactly whatever thing you wanted them to do doesn't mean that they're bad people or that they're bad actors or that they're unprofessional. There are circumstances for everything. So this, I just don't, it scares me that anybody could have that kind of a power, like that anybody could do that. And it's happened in, smaller cases, in like local theater or whatever, we got to get away from that. Like we really do. Like everybody needs to internally take a step back and be like, hey, this person's really trying, or let me go ahead and have a conversation with this person. And if it's one thing, if you don't like what they have and you don't think it's good enough, then email them back. Like, come on. And I know you get hundreds of emails, as you say, but the fact that you won't even look at some and you'll just toss them to the side, like people put their time into that. And not everybody is mass emailing. I don't mass email. That's not something that I've ever done. I've always done either snail mail or I've given a very personalized email or submission form. I've never done a mass anything just because I feel like that could get confusing in my inbox. I'd be like, wait, where's this coming from? So I don't do that. But people deserve a chance. I just think we got to drop the I'm superior, because if you lost your job tomorrow and you didn't have it anymore, I'm sure that you would be asking favors around town and, hey, who could help me? Is there somewhere else in the industry I could get into? And we've all had different heights in our careers. We've all been at the bottom, and then some of us, if we're lucky enough, have been at the top. And you have to be able to remember where you came from. And we have to be able to treat each other with respect. And so all I'm asking is just be careful in this attitude, in this I'm in a higher place than you thing. You're in a different place. It doesn't mean that you're in a higher place. It's just, this is the way the system works, It's like politics. It's like, that's just how it works. I didn't create this. I would like to advocate for myself, but I have to go through an agent. And unfortunately, it's like they're holding my balls, What am I supposed to do about that? And I feel most actors, it doesn't seem like anything we do is the right thing. You're wearing too much makeup. You're not wearing enough makeup. You look a little bit too boring. Well, they told me not to wear makeup, so I look boring. It's like we can't ever please anybody. And if we're going one way, then they're trying to push us the other way. And I'm not sure that casting agents are teachers. I think they keep trying to be, but I think it's a different world. So I'm not really sure that they're the ones who should be dishing out the advice. It's really just one person's personal opinion, especially in casting and in the agents and stuff like that. It's like, well, what's your background? Did you go to acting school? Do you understand what it is I'm giving you? Do you understand the schools that I went to? I would prefer an agent who's more educated in that. Educated. What am I? I get tough love, and I'm not trying to be all, tree hugger and, let's live in harmony and treat each other with kindness and all. I understand, things are quick, things move fast. You got to know the business. That's not what I'm saying. It's like a police officer, when they're just, I'm going to abuse my power. Don't abuse your power. We've all come from somewhere. People are learning that, and people are staying away from agents that are acting this way. We want somebody who believes in us. Why on earth would you have me on your roster if you didn't think I was talented, if you didn't believe in me, if you, and you didn't take the time to look at my stuff? If that person's got 30 student films, that's pretty good. It's not always easy to book those student films. And they probably have a variety of things that they can show you in their acting skills. So I think that's a great way to start. So I don't know where that's coming from. You do what you do until you can get an agent. That's the whole point. so I don't know. I don't know, what perspective we're coming from here. And maybe that's more of like the manager, obviously there are managers and then there are casting agents. So I guess the manager expects you to already be brilliant and amazing. So don't even walk through my door if you are not already amazing. And it's like, well, if I was already amazing, would I need you? Like I said, I feel like we all need each other. And when you do become super amazing and you are booking shows, sometimes managers will reach out to you because they want to represent you. So don't foster those relationships. So I would just say everybody should check themselves. Don't lie, obviously. There's a lot of things I agree with in those things. Don't lie on your resume. Don't say you have a passport if you don't, because we know nowadays it's taken forever to get those. I definitely agree. Take your headshots. Always get those renewed. Don't wear too much makeup. Make sure you get, like, I always have to tell, and this is, agents should be telling all photographers to stop doing this. Stop taking out all my wrinkles. I've earned every wrinkle. Give me those wrinkles back. I'm trying to be authentic. If I ask you to edit it more, great. But let's start small. Brighten my eyes, whatever. Do those things. But you don't need to get rid of every freckle. And if I have a zit, sure, go for it. Because I probably don't normally have that zit and it was a bad day. But, certain things we don't want to over edit. And we do want to come off genuine. But rather than just attacking somebody, understand that, like, maybe you should look at why some of your submissions are coming through a little wonky. That would be my advice. If you're like, why do they keep sending it like this? That's not a coincidence. Look at the breakdown. Sometimes the breakdowns are a little off, or they are contradicting. And so then we have to guess which one they would rather have. And we're trying to pick. It's like the same thing with, like, they're like, title this image, this one that's been happening a lot lately, headshot. And I'm like, well, you can't, not on casting networks. You can't. It will not allow you to change the name of it. Now, Actors Access does. So then I'm like, okay, so maybe they really they're going to take this, image, and it's going to be embedded differently. So then I have to now not only take it from my photos, I have to transfer it to my files, name it headshot so that the file says headshot. So I'm doing extra work, just to make sure that when I upload this to Casting Networks, which doesn't give you the opportunity to rename it, they only do that with the videos, take 1, take 2, take 3. Then I guess they wanted the file to say headshot for when they download it. It'll say headshot instead of like image 5235. You know what I'm saying? So there's a learning curve too, especially for newer people. They're like, what do you mean? And then they're spending all this time trying to figure out, why can't I label it headshot? Well, Casting Networks won't let you label it headshot as the cover to whatever your audition is. There's just a lot of, every site is different too, in the way that you can reorganize your photos and put them in different orders, and they're just different, so I do wish that we had a more consistent way of submitting, because that is really what we need. We've got too many versions of how we're doing things today. And at first it was like, well, this is helpful because WeTransfer lets you download a lot of, bigger files, and it's free, and that's great, but now we're being asked, like I said, to change the quality. I'm like, after we've come so far, don't you want to see my wrinkles and every hair in my nose? No, you want to go back to the blurry thing? Okay, let's do that. But it's not really blurry. I mean, as long as you get the gist of what somebody's doing, I understand why that's happening. But yeah, I'm interested to see where we're going. I don't have all of the answers. I just know that for me, it's conflict of interest to become an agent. I've seen a couple of, I've actually been asked to be somebody's agent. Actually several people. And I actually thought about starting a kids agency, because I thought, well, this would be better because then it's not conflict of interest. I can work with just kids, and then I can still submit for my stuff. But it is a full-time job. And I would love eventually to be an agent. And I'm learning a lot from this. I want people to, respect me, and if these agents think that they're acting this way and that people respect them, they don't respect you. They fear you. They fear that you're going to, banish them, or, axe them, or say something mean. And as soon as I felt that, I was like, oh, I'm going to back away from this person. I was like, this is bad news bears. Like, there's nothing I can do. This is my first conversation with you, and you're already angry at me. You're already saying these, partially racist things, and that I'm not good enough. What do you know? You didn't even read my resume yet. You didn't even look at it. You're asking me all these questions and didn't even bother to look at my stuff. So what do you mean? This whole, it's like they have a standard, script of what they say. Yeah, get in classes. I'm like, I'm 39 years old. I'm in classes all the time. And I'm actually really good about that. I take online courses. I take in-person classes. I'll be taking some improv classes soon. I'm always working on my craft. And that takes getting to know somebody, and not just guessing and judging and having this, thing that you just always say. We got to get away from that. And there are some great agents out there. And you know what? The job should be fun. Make it fun for yourself. Don't do it this way. And there really are agents that are kind and understanding. And if they mess up, they own up to it. Nobody's perfect. And we both we should be both going towards the same goal. So that is my piece. This has been about the world of actors, just a little slice of it, just a slice of it. And you'll probably hear me, talking more about it as I continue to push into this career, and hopefully, come out on top. This is something that I have imagined since I was a little kid. I auditioned for Barney when I was a kid, for these the what was going to be the Mickey Mouse Club. It was called AHA, and I was almost in that. And that's all I've ever, well, minus wanting to be the next Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears, because when I was little, it was like being a pop star was like a thing. Besides that, because I'm a dancer and singer, but acting, I have so much stuff I want to tell. If anything, I'll be behind the scenes at some point and creating. I did write a screenplay this year, but I got to put that on its feet. But I just want to tell stories. I want to be a part of those stories. I want to make people feel things. Robin Williams is one of my favorite actors on the entire planet. And just his subtleties, just the tiniest movement of his lower jaw, you could feel he's just holding back these emotions. Like that's what I want to do with my career. I just want the opportunity. I just want the scripts in front of me. It's not easy because it's mostly commercial in Florida, but I'm really pushing for those things because I can see myself in it. I can envision myself in it, and it's what I want more than anything on this planet. And all I want as an actor is to have somebody who advocates for me, who believes in me, who sees me, who wants to meet me, who wants to have real conversations with me. No, we don't need to have powwows every week. Just the initial, hey, I got to know you. Great. Awesome. Now let's have a professional relationship. But you got to have someone who's on your side. And in this industry, it's hard to keep going. That first right of refusal is always the hardest thing. But, I'm always happy for my friends that book stuff. Like, I'll see a commercial come out and I'm like, that was the one I was supposed to get. And it like kills my soul. But if it's someone I know, especially, I'm like, well, you know what? At least they got it. It just wasn't my turn. So this is just a quick story along the lines of what it's like to be an actor, just expressing the realness of it all. And I was trying not to cry or beat myself up about it. So winning, I called my agent, frustrated that I had just bombed my callback because it was completely different than the original concept and script and the direction. They didn't even read all the lines. So there was no warning, and there were awkward silences because there were no lines for me to react to. Not to mention, I could hardly understand the director because of his thick accent. And this was via Zoom, which I've done many times, but instead of a video of him, it was a picture of a dog. Cute dog, but it would have been nice, and I could have, probably figured out the lip sync if I could have seen his face. I would have been perfect for this role, and I didn't feel set up for success at all. So much so that it threw me off and I flubbed the line, while awkwardly being told to read the line to the camera, which wasn't the scene at all. This wasn't like The Office. This is not how this was supposed to go. So I'm trying to look at the little dot on the camera and then read the line to the camera, and therefore I flubbed because my brain wasn't physically acting inside my body. It was now acting as a teleprompter. During my call to my agent and like giving the feedback on what just happened, my agent still thought I might book it, and it probably wasn't that bad. My husband said the same thing, and it totally was that bad. I am telling you, I had one line and I couldn't say it right because I was so distracted by the fact that, they were telling me to do completely different things. They're like, don't do this. Don't worry about the fact that you're short and looking at the people above you, which was the whole scene, is that I'm supposed to be short and like looking at the people. Then my agent tells me, as we were talking, that previously for another audition, she told her office that if Katie doesn't book this, I'm quitting my job. And I was like, I am so flattered. Like, that made my day. Like, I really appreciate you telling me that. She's still there, but, I'm just saying, like, it's the thought that counts. I didn't book that job. And that loss still bothers me to this day. So that was an earlier audition. I don't think the person who booked it was funny at all, nor were they like the description they said they wanted. And just being honest, it makes my head spin for the casting side and the direction and just all the sides. Like, even sometimes understanding that these casting directors don't even know what they want until they see it, until the actor shows up. I've done that, which I've successfully done before, but this was not that. Like, it just flopped. It just wasn't funny. There was no comedy to this commercial where I know that I did a good job. My agents were like, "Oh my God, you're so funny. Like, this is exactly what they asked for. You're totally," they gave examples of like two comedic female actresses, and they're like, "You nailed it." And I'm like, I sent it to friends of mine, which I never do, like close friends, and just being like, "Is this funny?" And they're like, "Oh my God, it's so funny." And I also know how to see results, in commercials like that and be like, I get why they booked that. I get why that person got the job. Good job. And I can be like, great for them. But that wasn't this, and I'm still heartbroken from that. And honestly, hoping that they'll do another commercial and think of me, and then I could go do that and be like their new spokesperson. Because I was like, this to me, I could have been like the next progressive girl, like for this callback. But the moral of the story is that it's nice to have an agent that sees you and believes in you no matter what the politics are. No matter if someone's like, we already have a white girl on our roster or whatever the situation is. It's not always the best talent that gets the gig. And I'm just being honest about that. So I'm learning to keep my chin up and push through, continue to believe in my work and my ability in the hopes that it procures better projects. And I don't think callbacks should go worse than your self-tape. Honestly, I wish that we could just book people from the self-tape because they ask for so much and we give them so much and we put so much effort and time into these self-tapes for them to do a quick Zoom, not give you the direction you need, and then flop it. And then also just looking at a dot on a screen, like looking at a tiny camera, it's not organic, and I just feel like these casting directors need to trust their actors, that they come in prepared, that they have a plan. And if you don't know how to direct them, maybe give them the freedom to show you what they can do or a heads up to the massive changes before your callback happens. Taking direction is one thing, but fumbling through an audition as the casting director just makes your actors fumble right through with you. And all you can hope for is that whoever's eyes are on it next can see that you weren't given what you needed. I was so distraught that I just started cleaning the house. You ever do that? You're like pissed and angry, and I'm like, I'm going to work out. I should just be mad more often. And our casting directors being ageist. Is that what it's come to? A lot of these auditions that we see are requiring that you come up with your own choreography. And they are not hiring pianists, so they're skipping the in-person auditions. And we are now becoming choreographers, and we are becoming video editors and voiceover artists, and having to have all this equipment. While I have enjoyed being able to do back-to-back auditions and not have to drive around, there's something to be said. Like, I didn't grow up in the age of cell phones. So most of my stuff is on VHS tape and I look like a blob, Granted, you need to stay current, so you need to be updating and now using your phones to maybe record how you dance now and not like you have before. But it's really tough to come up with a reel when you have all of this older style of footage. So it is becoming, more difficult to keep up. And not that we're not capable of learning and, going with the new age of things. But it is a lot of expectations now for us. And now, you can just have a clip from YouTube of somebody playing your song on the piano rather than hiring a pianist at these auditions anymore. So a lot of it's weird. It can be helpful, but it's also like, well, now you're expected to have this reel and all of your dances, and especially in equity, you're not even allowed to take footage, which I think is there needs to definitely, for your reel, you should be able to have it. It'd be one thing if you posted it to the public, but like you should be able to have that to show casting agents like what you're capable of, and just to be like, look at this, like, and have your own memories. How sad is it that you can't even look back at a show that you did and watch it? Like, that's that kind of sucks. I don't like that at all. And my issue with the choreography thing is I'm lucky that I'm a choreographer, but some people might not be. And they want to show up and have you teach them something in the style of the show and then let them show you that, yes, I have years of dance training. I don't have a reel, maybe because it's older, but I can do it if you show me the steps. And it takes time. It takes time. The last time I had to do an audition like that, it took me about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and nobody paid me for that time, to put, a routine together, memorize it, find music to go with it, videotape myself, edit the video, make sure that I have a speaker that's loud enough for the camera to hear. There's all these aspects that go into it. And the space, oh my gosh, some of these auditions are ridiculous. And they're like, oh, make sure you find a space that has a blank back wall and there's nothing in the room. And I'm like, to dance? First of all, a dance studio doesn't even have a plain backdrop. Most of them have mirrors, or a bar going across the length of the room. You're not going to find a place with a plain backdrop. So that is a weird request. This is not an acting or film audition. And last second like that, like, hey, just put this together. What am I going to do? Spend money now to go rent a space? Like, we have to be realistic. People are going to be in their living rooms. We can't. So if that's what you really want, then you need to definitely take out that you want this plain backdrop, with nothing in the room, and somehow manage to have enough space to dance and do a kick and show that you have ability. So I definitely think dance calls, if you want to hire someone based off their dance reel, go for it. But I think dance calls need to be happen, at least for the callbacks, do the video submission. And if you like their singing and their acting, then call them back in person for a real in-person dance callback. And if you've been on social media, TikTok at all, you'll see trends going around. And one of them that really stuck out to me was about fat shaming. And it's like, you're a 90s kid if, and understanding, like, people need to look back at the stuff that we went through growing up. Truthfully, I mean, Tyra Banks went through stuff, and then she also kind of was not kind to her models, being fat shamed. And some models were considered plus sized. And you're like, are you kidding? You think that's plus sized? There was an episode on Boy Meets World where Topanga, she got boobs and she was developed, and people were spreading rumors that she was pregnant. And she's like, no, I'm just fat. Like Anna Nicole Smith being interviewed by Howard Stern. And it's like, oh, well, because she was this super amazing supermodel or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, now look at you, and he was always inappropriate. And we just like accepted that in our culture as like funny, even Simon Cowell, he's gotten better, but he said some awful things. Poor Britney Spears, the way people spoke to her about her boobs, about the way she looked, and she always just smiled and laughed. That's what she did. She just got through the interview, even though it was so inappropriate. Making Posh Spice stand on a scale, and she still has issues with her image, the way she looks to this day. I was told by casting that I was too fat for Wendy Darling in a giant nightgown where you can't see. Like, I had already been approved in this role for years, and all of a sudden it was like, you need to lose weight. And it was like, wait, what? I was too heavy for the Orlando Magic. And at that time I thought I looked great, and it's like, even when I was in the circus, you got to lose weight, And for me, I'm like, this is just the shape of my stomach. This is where you see weight. I have sway back syndrome, and obviously I didn't know I had endometriosis, and I've never had an ab. I'm the most physical person you'll meet. I work out every day. I've danced, I've done gymnastics, and I've never had an ab. Not one ab. And when I performed hip and hop at Beetlejuice, I was always so paranoid. My torso is so short. So like literally I just crunch and you just see a roll, but people are like, are you crazy? You're skinny. But in my brain, I was never skinny. I've never, ever been skinny. But I definitely am a petite person. But I also understand the business. Like, I knew I couldn't do aerial. I auditioned, I sang, and luckily I had a wonderful conversation with casting about that. And they're like, you sound beautiful, you look beautiful. I even did the face character for 2 months or something. And then they were like, we got to pull you. Your boobs are huge. And, my stomach did roll when I sat. It's just the way that I'm built. And I understand the industry in that way, but not the shaming. Like there is a place for you. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get Sinbad. I was literally told, I will put you in the show right now if you had abs. And I was like, well, I don't. And I will never have them. And it happens to men too. Jack Black, George Costanza, men were comically obese. I have a friend of mine who's like, yeah, well, it's like my agent tells me I have to stay fat. So your agent's telling you that you have to stay fat and be unhealthy to be funny. You can be funny and you can lose weight and you will find another avenue. Like this whole fat being funny thing is just stupid. And this is why so many kids of, honestly, earlier too. I mean, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, especially 90s when we didn't have social media just yet. We were getting there, but like the interviews, the TV, all this stuff, like you started seeing what people were saying to people and like being in powerful positions and making like, you're too fat to be famous. You'll never make it. Then that's what you start thinking. I mean, and Kate Winslet, people said she was more heavier set. When I look back at women that I was told is more heavy, I can't believe my brain thought that. I'm like, oh, you mean beautiful porcelain, supple, gorgeous, soft skin. And the fat, guys, fills in the wrinkles, by the way. So you look more youthful. Like just mind-boggling the way, people in society forced this on society. If you have a powerful position, use it wisely. And on that note, if agents want you to look how you look, then don't make me feel bad for being old, that like I don't fit in a market anymore. Like it just seems like people accept men aging gracefully, but not women. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, look at Betty White. Like, it doesn't matter. Find a spot for me. If you are my agent, you will say, cool, you are now in this genre. Let's push you into that. And we need to find more female roles. And to the agents, just to close out on a quote from Barbara Walters. She said, if you care about the work that you've done, then you need to tell people about it, or they won't care about it. All right, guys, that's it for today. This has been Katie Rose, served straight up with a twist. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and let a friend know about the show. And if you're really feeling generous, rate it 5 stars. I also love having guests on my show, so if there's a topic that you want to chat about, contact me on my Facebook page at Katie Rose, straight up with a twist, or now you can directly text me straight from the episode in the details section. Just click on the link provided. Thanks so much for joining, and tune in week to week with some more Katie Rose, straight up with a twist.